Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Sabrina Love's Love Notes. I'm Sabrina Love. No makeup, no lashes, just plain talk, common sense, usually 5 issues that directly impact the gay and lesbian society and culture every single day in related to current issues, but today only 4. But I do have to start with a very special and important announcement. I'm recording this a little earlier than normal because I want to make sure that you get to carry on to the previous episodes that this show has produced. I was just watching CNN and they just announced that the man who is accused of shooting Trayvon Martin in Sanford, Florida, George Zimmerman, his legal representatives have dropped him as a client because they have been out of communication with him for the past 48 hours. There's been no communication, and come to find out, these attorneys never met George Zimmerman face-to-face to start with. They had never seen him face-to-face. They'd been communicating in this tremendously big national media spotlight on this horrendous crime that happened. And whether or not George Zimmerman is guilty is not for me to decide. But in the trial of public opinion, these lawyers were representing a man and coming onto the national media front every day to defend this man and had never even shooken hands with him, never met him, never retained him. Now George Zimmerman's got a website up where he's asking for donations through PayPal for his legal fund, yet he has no communication with his lawyer, so he has no legal representation. Not only that, but now his lawyers say he's not even in Florida anymore. You watch. George Zimmerman's arrest is going to be issued, there's going to be a warrant issued for his arrest within the next 48 hours because now there is no attorney, there is no promise of surrender, and the former attorneys have no idea where Mr. Zimmerman is. This is going to not only escalate this arrest and the filing of charges, but this is going to escalate the process and make this story even larger. So, I wanted to bring that to your attention really quick because it was an episode that we started with in episode 1. That's kind of the update, and we're going to update these as we go so that we don't just address it and leave it. We're going to make sure we stick to what we've talked about and keep you up to date on it all. Now, without further ado, let's begin this episode of Love Notes, and I've only got 4 issues tonight because the 4th one is going to take a little bit of time, and this is going to be a controversial episode, I think. This may strike a few matches, but again, it's the truth as I see it. These are my words. They don't come from anyone. They're not rehearsed. They're not scripted. This is one take. I don't do issues over and over again and get the best take. You get my words the very first time they come out of my mouth. So it's my opinion, my thought process, and with your help, we'll continue to educate and to spread the word, whether you agree or disagree. The word is being spread. I want to thank you for watching the first 2 episodes and thank you for the comments and the messages that you sent. They were fantastic. They constantly stay in my head as to the direction that I want to take the show for the next episode, and I thank you very much. So pass the link on. Get this to as many people as we can because disagree or agree, I want to hear your opinion. I want to know what you think, but I want to keep the conversation going. That's the most important part. Issue number 1. All right, issue number 1. Today, there was a huge announcement for the transgender community. Donald Trump and the Miss Universe pageant system announced that they would no longer ban transgender contestants from entering the Miss Universe contest. This was a 23-year-long rule that existed within the Miss Universe rules and regulations that you had to be biologically born a female in order to compete in the Miss Universe pageant. Well, there was a contestant who was vying for Miss Canada Universe, Jenna Talakova, and she was in the running for this and made it to the finals, and she was told that she could not compete at Miss Universe because she was biologically not born female. She was biologically born a male. She has had sexual reassignment surgery. Her passport does show that she is in fact female, and still she was told that she could not compete in a universal or a worldwide stage for this because of this rule. Now, Donald Trump, who earlier we know put his name in the hat for the Republican presidential nomination, who had lots of candid things to say not only about the president but about the gay society and the gay rights movement, and didn't come out on our end in the least. So my thing about Donald Trump is Donald Trump has always been a figurehead. He's always the picture on the billboard, but there are dozens and probably hundreds of people who are actually producing the message that Donald Trump is a face for. And eventually, even if you are the most hated and demonized person in the world, if you have a group of people around you, eventually they're going to say, listen, you've got to tone it down a little bit for the betterment of this program. So I'm sure that this had nothing to do with Donald Trump and Donald Trump's decision to move in a progressive form in the 21st century. Donald Trump's still, 50, 60 years back, but his board and the people who show Miss Universe to the millions and millions of people around the world, and this generates so much money and so much income, finally had to say, we don't want a lot of negativity brought against this because it's just not worth it. If you have had sexual reassignment surgery and your passport says that you're now female, we really do not care where, or let me say, we really don't care what gender you were born with. We care what gender you have now at the time of competition, which it should be. It should be. It is what you do at the time of competition, not what you were 15 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years ago. Shouldn't matter. If that is your life and that is where you have taken your life and your life has led to you becoming a member of the opposite sex, then bully for you, you should be allowed and afforded the privileges and rights that come with that gender. That being said, I think we have to realize again and not take for granted that Donald Trump said, I wish her the best of luck, as anything more than just a false flag, talking in the wind, because nobody in the world is going to believe that this was Donald Trump's idea or that Donald Trump even supports this idea. Donald Trump is Donald Trump. He's in it to make the money. He's in it to do anything by any means necessary. And in this society, some might agree with that as pro-business. I think if you speak for something because it generates income, you're speaking for the wrong thing maybe. Sometimes you can speak for the very right thing and it generates millions and millions and millions of dollars. And that's great. If you can do that, that's great. That's free enterprise. But if you give your voice to something just because it generates a ton of income, it should not be glorified. I glorify the board of directors who rectify this problem and put this 23-year-old rule out of commission. I don't glorify the spokesperson for the program just because he is who he is, and I know what really, by his own words, are going through his mind. So, kudos to the board of directors for the Miss Universe pageant, and of course, the biggest supporters in the world who watch the Miss Universe pageant every single year have to be the Gay and Lesbian Society, because we cannot miss a night where it's beauty and boobs and beads and sparkly things, and you, come on, really? We support Miss Universe because we love the pageantry, the drama, the beauty, the exceptional skills of the designers to fit the women and the women to speak on platforms that matter. So we're, of course, going to support this like nobody ever knew. Like there was no, I'm sure most people didn't even know there was a ban on transgender contestants because there had never been an issue brought forth before. But Jenna Talikova, kudos to you for standing up, for making what's right, and welcome to the 21st century, Mr. Trump. That, issue number one. Okay, issue number two. Now, this is huge. Today's been a really big news day, so I've kind of had to scramble around and put things that were going on today's program into Friday's program. And that's going to happen from time to time because of this 24-hour news cycle that we live in. But Rick Santorum, the conservative former senator from Pennsylvania, has dropped out of the presidential nomination, the Republican presidential nomination contest. So Mitt Romney basically has this tied up now. Ron Paul and Newt Gingrich still hanging on, but they have absolutely zero chance of grabbing the nomination. But Rick Santorum, unexpectedly, now he was out this weekend. His daughter Bella has a genetic condition. She's adorable. She looks like him. She's a very special child, and I commend him for bringing her into the public spotlight and for addressing her needs. But he spent the weekend with her. She was released from the hospital, and then unexpectedly today has a campaign announcement and says, "I'm done," and walks off the stage. Very simple, basic, didn't answer any questions about it. Now, I'll tell you why this is issue number 2, because this is going to be a big help to those of us who are fighting Amendment 1, which we talked about on Friday in episode 2. Those of us who are fighting Amendment 1, which is North Carolina's House of Representatives and State Senate trying to put on a constitutional amendment banning same-sex marriage and civil unions, even though they're not legal. You got that all in episode 2, I know. It still just bombs my mind, the simplicity of why this is not necessary. But North Carolina is known as part of the Bible Belt, very conservative. It is progressing. You know, we did vote Obama in the 08 elections, but North Carolina typically is seen as part of the Bible Belt, the North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, that block. Deep roots, family values, and so the House and the Senate, who is Republican majority controlled, stuck this on the ballot in May 8th when North Carolina goes to the primary. Now, everybody saw this as, wait a minute, you're sticking an issue that fits all of the people of the gay and lesbian society who live in the state of North Carolina or who are traveling or using North Carolina as a place for tourism, and you stuck it on a ballot when the majority of Democrats don't vote because it was a Republican presidential primary. So Democrats don't typically go out and vote, and most gay and lesbians who are registered to vote are registered to vote Democratic. It's about 68% are Democratic. So by Rick Santorum resigning from his campaign and saying we're not going to proceed anymore, the interest in the Republican presidential primary just went all the way downhill. It's not like Mitt Romney's not boring enough, okay? And you know, a Northerner, a Mormon, a person who's very pro-business, but voted for health care for his state of Massachusetts, voted on so many lines that violate what is typically the Republican stance on issues. And, you know, I think they're great issues that he voted for. Some of them not so great, but, you know, some of them he really voted the right way. But he is not the candidate of the Republican Party that we've ever seen before. And so with Santorum dropping out of the race, they basically have no one else to vote for. So this is going to shrink the interest in the May 8th presidential primary, which means there'll be less people out to vote for Amendment 1, which means I charge today an action to you to make sure on May 8th that you go and you vote. You vote no on Amendment 1. We have an opportunity here, since the interest is down, the challenge is smaller. And I didn't care if the challenge was the entire state was coming to vote that day. We were still going to defeat this amendment. But we have the opportunity now to face a smaller group of people, albeit hard to say how much smaller, but there will be less interest in this race because the nomination is already locked up now. So, take someone to vote with you, okay? Take someone to vote with you. Already today, in Charlotte, former mayors Harvey Gantt and Richard Vinroot, one Democrat, one Republican, one ran for governor, have came out against Amendment number 1. You know, so you've got a black Democrat and Harvey Gantt, a white Republican and Richard Vinroot, both coming out saying this should not pass. And it will not pass. But now is really our chance to not only make sure it doesn't pass, but to vote with such overwhelming force that we make a statement to the General Assembly in Raleigh saying, don't try to pull the wool over our eyes. Just because it's a Republican primary year, you're trying to sneak something in, it's decisive, it's un-American. Don't try to sneak something in. If you want this ballot initiative to go on, if you really want to put a constitutional amendment in this Constitution of the state of North Carolina, put it on the November ballot. Put it on the ballot when everybody's going to vote because it's presidential year. Why don't you do that? Why put it just on the Republican primary day? Put it in November when everybody's going to vote and see what your chances are. We can make a huge statement here. We've got a smaller rock to push up the hill. And so we can push this over the hill and down for generations to come by saying, no, we're not going to put up with your sneaky trickery. We're going to vote our conscience. We're going to vote what's right for the American people and right for every citizen to have equal rights. We're going to do it each and every time. I encourage you, take someone with you to vote. If you're registered, call somebody. Are you registered? Are you registered? Are you registered? You want to ride? Can I go with you? Take someone with you to vote. Make it a double vote. Do your civic duty. I know, not that glitzy and exciting to go vote, So important this year. So important every year. But this year, especially during the Republican primary, that's on May 8th. Make sure you go vote no on Amendment 2. And good luck, Governor Romney. You're going to need it. That's issue number 2. Okay, issue number 3. This week I was given a very special opportunity to go see an advanced screening of the movie called Bully. I want to thank those, and we agreed not to make it a big deal, so I don't want to call any names, but I want to say thank you for allowing me to come see the pre-screening. It's opened in select cities and is opening nationwide more progressively now that they went back for a re-edit, took some of the fuck words out, and made it a PG-13, which I think was great. You don't always have to cuss and scream and yell. That coming from me, who cusses and screams and yells all the time, to make your point. But I think in this movie, it was so critical that they actually get what these kids were doing every single day. It is the strongest message that I've ever seen in a movie in my entire life. It is inspiring. It is embarrassing. It is heartwarming. It is heartbreaking. It is mired in controversy. The things, and this again, you see how the things that impact our lives every day trickle down into the things that impact everybody's life in this country. It's not just gay rights issues. These are issues that every child in America faces at some time, and they either overcome them or they don't, and they don't overcome them because they're not strong enough to overcome them. The forces are too great. They don't have the forward-going personality or the mental stability or the support system that they need, whatever their case may be. You know, but these kids that are bullied and picked on in this movie will make you rise up to support them and make you sit down and really question who we are as a people to ever have our children doing these horrendous things to these other children. I encourage you so much to go see this movie when it opens in your city. If it's already open, go see it now. Take someone with you. This movie, and you know, I can see myself recording on this computer, so I see the little wrinkles up here in my head. That's when I get serious, I do that, and I need to stop doing that. Keep this, you know, young face. It's not that young. But it's so serious because these kids had to learn that behavior from somewhere. And they learned that behavior was acceptable because they got away with it so many times. Day after day after day after day. They get rid of it. They get away with it. And they're allowed to do the same thing because no one teaches them any better. And most of all, no one teaches them that the actions that they're doing are wrong and have consequences. This is where it falls on adults. And that's why, yes, I think this movie is important for all school-age children to see. And I mean that. All school-age children, from kindergarten through college. Yes, I know that most people will say, I'm not taking my kindergartner to a PG-13 movie. I understand that, okay? I have nieces and nephews that are under the 5th grade level age group. And I would question myself on taking them to, you know, a movie that has that kind of language in it normally. But not this one. Not this one. We won't blink at taking our kids to see the new Transformers movie or the new action star movie or whatever movie it is that's coming out that's full of violence and rage and cars blowing up and people getting shot. We won't give a second thought to that. But a movie that is so important, that generates conversation between parent and child, between parents and other parents, between adults and other adults, between children and other children. This is so important that everybody see this movie because it does start with the adults. It does start with the parents and the teachers and the grown-ups who are in charge of our schools, who are in charge of the buses, who are in charge of after-school care, who are in charge of the kids when they get home, who are their mothers, fathers, stepfathers, stepmothers, brothers, aunts, uncles. It starts there with the adults. But we have let this go for so many years and so many years that now it's going to take a joint effort between the children and the adult for us to get over this. You have got to see this movie. This movie will change the way you think. It will change the way you look at other people. It will change the way you look at yourself. Go see this movie and start the conversation. If you have people in your family or people who are friends with you that have children that are in school, that have children that are in any age group, you need to take these parents with you. Get the conversation started. Encourage these parents to take their children to see this movie and get the dialogue started. That's how we affect change in this country, is by getting the conversation started, which is what this program is all about. Get the conversation started. This movie will change your life. I promise you. Issue number 3. Okay, issue number 4, and this one's probably going to make a couple of people a little angry, but that's okay. This is all about stirring up the conversation and getting it started. Issue number 4, I'm calling the state of our union. Every year, the President of the United States goes into a joint session of Congress, and in front of all the leaders of this country, save one, who's in hiding somewhere just in case someone decides to push the Capitol building over, he stands before Congress and addresses the state of the United States, what state we are in, how good we are doing, how bad we are doing. And every president, no matter what, always says the same thing, basically. Okay? We're doing good, but we could do better. They always say the economy's doing good, but it could do better. The wars are going good, but they could go better. The state of our education system is good, but we could be better. Well, I'm going to address the state of our union. And I'm not going to be quite as politically correct as the president may be in saying that the state of our union is mediocre at best, and we have to do better. And I'm going to start with the institution that I know best, and that's drag. There's no such thing as being a former queen. If you've ever been a queen, you will always be a queen. So every queen that has ever worked anywhere, this really is a personal message to you. We have to do a better job. We are given the opportunity to stand in front of a group of people who have given us and those establishments that hire us the benefit of entertaining them and taking them away from the issues that they face every day. Okay? I've done this for 19 years. I've done thousands of shows in front of millions of people. And it didn't take more than 1 or 2 shows before I realized that there is a huge audience here to which I've been given the honor to speak with and to entertain and to take away from the fact that when they get home they know somebody's knocking on the door because their power bill's due, or because they've got to go buy groceries that they can't afford, or put gas in the tank that they can't afford, because they've got relationship problems, because they've got family issues. And this is the hour a week that they can come out and spend the little money that we all have right now, and I get a chance to take all that pain away and entertain them and be that thing and entity that separates pleasure from pain. Because there's a lot of pain in today's world. And I think that we as entertainers have forgotten how important our role is. There's a lot of entertainers today that are simply entertainers by name only. It is a quick run through your local Walmart to grab your makeup, a quick run through your local Walmart to grab your outfits, stroll on stage and open up the Billboard Top 40, and whatever songs are on there, you can guarantee 1 through 40 you're going to hear 5 or 6 of those every single club you go in across the country. Every single night there's a drag show on, because it's easy, it's safe, everybody knows it, and if they're tapping their feet and bobbing their head, they're not really paying that much attention to you. So it's okay. And we stroll around and collect our money and go backstage, and that's it. That's the image that we leave for people to know us by. And that's why, with this huge voice that we have to stand on stage and make change and help our community, we don't anymore. We don't do benefits for good causes anymore. We don't carry our other sisters and help them to get up the ladder, to teach them the ways of entertainment and to grab their hands from a couple of rungs below us and help pull them up with us. We don't promote anything. We don't stand for anything. There's an old saying that says, if you stand for nothing, you will fall for everything. And most people cannot say, this is so-and-so, she performs at such and such club, and, I know her because she really stands firm on this, or she really helps out with this, or she really does. It's become so one-sided. It's become so, look how pretty I am, and look how flashy this is, and it doesn't mean anything. And I know that there are some entertainers that think that that's what they're doing, that's their message, but that can't be the only thing. You were given such a great opportunity to promote yourself and to be seen by so many people. Grab a hold of something and use that as a mission to express who you are creatively and for your community. Grab something. Even if it's going to be, I'm going to have the prettiest mug every single night of anybody else. Challenge yourself on that issue. That I just am going to give my 100% best every single night. I'm going to take the me out of this and make it about them. And if you come in there laid out every night and say thank you and really pour yourself into those performances and not make them so random and nonchalant and here's my 5 minutes and blah, blah, blah. Stand for something or fall for everything. Which moves me into the nightclub business and the gay and minority-owned businesses in the community. I've ran nightclubs my whole life. I know them like the back of my hand. I don't always agree with the way that some clubs are operated. I don't always agree with the way that some clubs handle their business. But that is their business to handle. If I want to do it better, I do it on my own. And that's what I do. But we came from a place where we created these clubs because they were pleasures of palaces, or palaces of pleasures for us. It was a place where we could go and be special and be part of a group of people that were just like us. And, some people will say, well, Sabrina, you got to come out of the 1980s, girl. We're accepted everywhere now. And that's great. Acceptance is a great thing. But don't be fooled and let somebody pull a Trump flag on you and look you in your face and say, you are welcome at our gay night here. Or you are welcome at our gay-friendly establishment. Well, that's great. That's great. But why does anything need to be considered a gay-friendly establishment? Are they putting that Miss Universe Trump face on it? Because in the end, they just want your money. They really don't care much about you as an individual. They care about you as a group because you generate a lot of income. But the clubs and the nightclubs who have the responsibility to grab a hold of issues and give back to these communities and give back to our communities are the clubs that last for decades and decades and decades and need your support more than ever. The same with gay-owned businesses. We should support these businesses, not because these days you can buy anything, anytime, anywhere online. You should physically go and buy from these businesses or buy from these businesses that are gay and minority-owned online. Because these people, that's their calling in this life. That's their issue that they're fighting for, is the right to have this idea and this product and make it available for everybody. And we should support that if we want them to support us. Whatever facet you hold in this community, it comes down to support. You couldn't be who you are today without support from some group of people that you're part of. I encourage you to step outside that group and look at the other factions of this society and support each other. Because we have wandered far away from becoming this tight-knit community where we come out once a year for Pride and become this segregated society of all these different layers of groups within our group. And that's why the straight community has all these ill-conceived notions of us. and think so many wrong and negative and nasty things about us because they focus in on one group that may have a different opinion than the general consensus of the whole group. But they focus in on this one group, and we don't run to support them. And we don't run to stand up. And we don't run to make sure that the causes that are important to us, that are important to this community, get our attention. We're too easily held by the concept now that you can sit at home, get a bag of dope, get a fifth of liquor, get on a website, call a trick over, and that's your night. It's just too convenient now to be queer. It's too convenient. There has to be a little effort put in this, or shows like this really wouldn't need doing. And as much, this show doesn't generate any income. It's not about me. It's not about my face. You know who I am. You know my voice and my face. It's about the fact that this is what I've done for years, for a decade, almost 2 decades now, is speak on things that this community has as a challenge and try to generate interest and help and support each other in causes that are so important to the very essence of our lives. That's what I've chosen to do with the calling that I had. And my calling to you is to say that we've forgotten all of these things, that it's just so damn convenient now to be queer, that nothing is special or nothing is held in high regard anymore. And we have to change that. We have to change that. If you look at this Trayvon Martin case, if it weren't for the protesters and the sympathizers and the black hoodies, no way would this have gotten the national attention from the get-go that it has now. No way. But those people saw an injustice, and they saw something that needed to be fixed and done better. And they took the time to make sure that it happened. Okay? Another example. If you're watching The Voice on NBC, there's a contestant named Jamar Rogers. Okay? Not only do you see the promo for this kid, and he's an amazing singer out of New York, sings just amazing lyrics. He's a beautiful vocalist. But he doesn't sing a note before his promo starts talking about his past being a drug addict, a drug abuser, and being HIV positive. And he does all of these things before you've heard him sing a note. So he could be making this huge announcement to the whole world, which we judge people in society based on what we already know about them before we get to know anything else. We've already judged them on what we know or what we can see right in front of our face. And this guy puts it right out in front of you and said, this is what I've dealt with. This is my life. And it does make you turn your ear a little bit. And it makes you listen a little harder. Not only is he a genius lyrically, but he's a genius in championing his cause and probably didn't even know it. He's just the kind that is what it is. Those are 2 examples of people grabbing a hold of something and letting it benefit the community that surrounds it. And you don't think that the HIV positive community has enough negativity and stereotypes issued about them that they might need a little champion every now and then? And here this kid is in the prime of his life on a national television program, huge Hollywood icons lined up in front of him, and he makes this announcement, and all of a sudden people get a little seed planted in their head that the next time they hear about someone who's HIV positive, that's who they think about. It's not a negative, laying in a hospital bed, starving and dying kind of issue. Now, there's a positive seed that's been planted in people's heads. Those are the kinds of changes that we can impact on a daily, day-to-day effort with no huge commitment, because we're all so busy now. We have to go back to being special. Go back to being who we were. Yeah, it might have been 20 years ago. But the togetherness that brought us to where we are now is the togetherness that can carry us to the next generation. And if we've not taught them and helped them and shown them the ways, and fought for causes that will matter 50 years from now. Okay? Not everybody can fight a million different things at a time. These issues that I take notes on and talk to you about every week, they're the issues that I think are important. There are millions of other issues that don't make my list, don't get inside my little crazy brain. But they're the issues that I know I'm affected by that day and that week, and that I feel you are as well. And so I share them in my thoughts and my opinions and how we can fix these problems. We have to grab a hold of something and stand together. Come back together as a community. Because the state of our union is mediocre at best. Because our union, much like the unions that we fight so hard to be legally recognized for, is such an uphill battle. But we can do it. We must do it. Because the generation that's coming up behind us, if you go watch this bully movie and you see these little 8 and 10-year-old kids and the way that they speak and treat other human beings, and if you see the maturity of these young children these days, the 10-year-olds are grown up now, for God's sake. And if you see the way that these kids treat other people, you know that we're in a very, very unique situation to where we've gotten the support we needed in the past to get us to this comfortable place, but what we've got coming ahead of us is wild, wicked ways. And we got to get a hold on it. We've got to remember that we brought each other to this point, and we have to bring each other to the next, or we'll never make it. Just a basic touch on the state of our union. All of these things are so important to me, and I'm so glad that you've given me the opportunity and the platform to speak to you on this. I look forward back to your comments, your disagreements, your thoughts, your ideas. They help me create this show, and I think about them so much. Every single comment, whether it's good or bad, I think about. And, you know, even when I'm getting gut punched and sucker punched, and I have been for years, because I have, you know, the need, I guess, to speak on things, people think that it creates an ego. And it's not. This doesn't generate any revenue. It's not for any cause. It doesn't build up my stature. I'm sitting in my living room, for fuck's sake. You know, it's not, there's no wig, there's no eyelashes, it's not fame and glory and fancy here. It's because this is what's right for me to do. This is my cause to champion. And I encourage you to find yours. And I want to thank you for watching episode 3. Don't forget, share the link with folks. Get the conversation started. That's what all this is about. And whether you're watching The Voice or going to see Bully the movie or watching the television show Touch, these little things that I pass on to you are minute. They take up a couple of hours tops. But they will impact the way that you see things. And if we can be diverted for just a minute to see things in a different light, it will change the whole perspective of who we are. And I'm so grateful for your vote of support on this. This project means so much to me, and will continue for the foreseeable future as long as you're interested. And just a little personal note, yeah, a little self-propaganda here. If you're in Asheville this weekend, or coming to Asheville this weekend, or want to come to Asheville this weekend, I am going to be performing at Hairspray, which is where all of this mess started out some 19 years ago. So I will be at Hairspray this Saturday night. And it's not an ad. It's simple. It's a simple way for you to come, and I'm not so worried about the show. Come, let's sit down and have a drink, and let's talk about some of these things. That's where I'm going to be, to challenge you to say, if you want to sit down and talk about this, if you want to sit down and bring up some things to me, if you have some ideas for this, that's where I'm going to be in person. I can take your calls and your emails all day long, much like the Trayvon Martin shooter's attorneys. I do want to meet you face to face. So that's where I'll be this Saturday at Hairspray here in Asheville. Showtime's midnight, I believe. So come out, let's talk about it and enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again on Friday. If you've enjoyed this afternoon's program, my name is the one, the only Sabrina motherfucking Love. Live for it, love it, respect it, because god damn it, bringing you bitches together is hard work. But it's what I do, and for 19 years it's what I've done. And that does make me the hardest working bitch in show business today. We'll see you on Friday.